What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
AFC South. About to be the clash of the Titans. Strike like a lightning bolt. You feel the ground pounding, that might be the coast. Quick like a joke, like to hit when provoked. Don't you doubt that. That's a Jaguar to a house cat. That's an outcast to a whole squadron. If you talking Houston, then we've got a problem. You'll probably get the horns if you mess with the cattle. Sit back in your saddle and get ready for the fan battle.
Really quickly, just don't forget to plug Sam Loves Jalen Ramsey. All right, everybody, have a great night.
God, I cannot wait. Matt
normally
no, it doesn't get me every time. Like literally, normally Matt would be running production for the show, and I'm having to do it.
I've seen that.
It's awful. What do you mean? They say it every show. God, I hate it so much. You know what? I know what I'm doing tonight when we log off. I'm removing that. This is harassment. Okay, I'm over it. Anyways. Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning into the AFC South Fan Battle Podcast. My name is Samantha Burnett. I am back. The guys held it down for me while I was gone. I'm super sad I missed the Mike Dempsey episode, but Mike Dempsey will be on Jaguars Fan Battle this Tuesday night, and Cody has invited me to join, and so I will be there. I'm gonna make sure that I'm there to because I am so sad. I think they did that on purpose. They scheduled him knowing I was going to be out of town. So, but yeah, 2,600 miles all around the Southeast U.S. And I wanted to just say shout out to the Florida Department of Transportation because I never realized how beautiful our roads were here until I traveled through Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas and caught a rock through my windshield. So, 3 kids, 2,600 miles, but here I am. I'm back.
Got it right through my windshield. What town is that?
No, it was when I was driving through Louisiana. It was like a freaking bullet, massive rock just straight through the windshield. I was like, sweet. But I do want to send condolences. Matt Briggs couldn't be with us tonight because his father passed away. So make sure everybody, out there sees him on here every week. Say a little prayer for him and his family going through this time. But we do have some big news tonight. DeAndre Hopkins has officially signed. So the Titans have gone from below average to mid. So congratulations. Evan Ingram is signed and Phillip Rivers is creating his own football team. And we'll dive into that, but I'll introduce our commentators first. So for the Jaguars, we have Cody Blankenship.
Yep. Cody Cole Gaming, 1/4 of the Jags Fan Battle. What's up?
Representing the Texans, we have VT.
What's up?
Representing the Titans, we haven't seen him in a while, but with the DeAndre Hopkins signing, he was like, "Please let me on." I'm just kidding, that didn't happen, but that sounded good. We got Agent John Ha.
It's just much like the Titans this last season. I started out really strong and then vanished.
But that's what happens, honestly. And then representing the Colts tonight, we have a special guest, Tony Donohue. Hello, Tony. How are you?
I have not been dunked on by Anthony Richardson in a pickup game of basketball, so I guess I'm doing better than a guy that was on that viral video of Anthony Richardson at the YMCA up the road throwing one down. So,
yeah, Anthony Richardson, didn't he play basketball at some point though?
He should have. I mean, he's got athleticism out the gym. So when my buddy posted that video and he went kind of viral for it, him throwing down that dunk. I was a little concerned because, you don't want your rookie quarterback going out and playing some hoop and rolling an ankle or getting hurt, but then you realize, he's a 21-year-old kid. He's going to go out and try to have
right.
He's like he's like 6'3", 6'4", and he's doing somersaults. Yeah, he's super athletic.
Do you think did Gardner Minshew set up the alley-oop to that?
I think Gardner was on a sideline going, well, if he gets hurt, I'm going to actually be able to be a starting quarterback.
Didn't they? Isn't he on the depth chart at this point still though? To be.
I think a lot of people have talked about maybe Gardner starting the first couple of weeks just to see what Anthony can do, and kind of learn behind that and get used to the game. But I mean, if you draft a guy in the top 5 as a quarterback like that, I don't see any problem putting him out there right away. And I mean, look, as a Colts fan, as a Colts supporter, I don't expect him to be in the playoffs this year by any stretch of the imagination. And there's going to be weeks where you're like, man, this kid's
realistic Colts fan.
Yeah, well, there's not a lot of us, trust me. But I'm not trying to hang a banner because Anthony Richardson went 5-13 this year. But
Hang a banner.
I don't know. Start him. Let's see what happens.
Well, I got way ahead of myself, I will say. But if there's a chance for me to talk about Gardner Minshew, I'm going to do it. I'm just saying. But I will say, first of all, starting off, since you're not on our normal, lineup, Tony, tell us about you. I know you have a podcast. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive into everything.
Yeah, thanks for having me too, guys. Great to meet you
Yes,
all.
thank you
I
for
live here in
coming.
Indianapolis. I worked at the Colts affiliated radio station here, ESPN 1070 The Fan, for 10 years. So lived through some crazy stuff. I could tell you stories for hours of behind the scenes, Andrew Luck or crazy stories. But recently I've kind of changed direction. Still do a podcast, Tony the Podcast, do a lot of racing stuff, which I'm sure you guys don't care about because I think only the city of Indianapolis really cares about a car racing, it seems like. But we've created the Fans Place app. I'd love to get you guys in there. We'll get some contests going, and basically it's a sports prediction contest. Each week we give away cash prizes.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Different gift cards to bars and restaurants. It's a boat ton of fun. It's kind of an alternative to gambling, which is legalized here in the state of Indiana. And you can play against your friends. You can turn in the tokens that you win for different prizes, cash prizes, different local bars and restaurants. You got Bud Light to sponsor it. So it's kind of been kind of been good. We started back in
don't
January.
Don't tell that, Sam.
Hey, I mean, it still tastes the same to me. I'll tell you that.
For now.
Well, it tastes the same for now. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
It's funny how something can become so controversial overnight, but we won't dive into that. This is a football. This is a football podcast. Okay. But yeah, that sounds.
I already know what you're thinking, Sam. When you.
So that actually sounds really. That's awesome. So it's kind of like a like FanDuel kind of, but like legalized. Is it gambling or is it just prediction?
No,
how does it work?
We're an alternative to gambling, but it is a sports prediction app. So you would go in and you can answer 10 questions on what's going to happen over an NFL Sunday or what's going to happen.
Over under kind of thing?
Over under, 24 rushing yards in the first quarter for Jonathan Taylor. Which wide receiver will catch the first pass. When you used to go to Buffalo Wild Wings back in the day, they give you that pad and you could kind of play. That's kind of the concept a little bit, except
cool.
we do everything from the NFL to the NHL. We had a hot dog eating contest for 4th of July. We do Monday nights. We do the Bachelorette. Like, how many times will the word love be spoken in the first 10 minutes of the show? Like over under 12 times. So it's a lot of fun. It's an alternative to sports gambling, and it's growing. We're having a lot of fun with it. And I get to come up with some of the questions, which is awesome for me because I'm like, okay, what random ass question can I throw out there today that might throw people off or stump some people? But
that's really
we'll send you guys the code. We'll get you guys some affiliate codes, and we'll put some cash into your account, and we'll have some fun. We don't ever ask for money. Anything cash prizes, we give away $5 per referral. And then we do like a daily streak contest. If you remember ESPN Streak for the Cash, if you get 10 in a row, we send you $100 to your Venmo or PayPal. If you get 20 in a row, we send you 1,000. So, we have some sponsors and some investors. So it's been a lot of fun. The NCAA tournament was huge for us. IndyCar does a lot of fun, and we kind of were scratching the surface last year in the NFL season. This year, it's going to be full board go. So, looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I like that because I like playing like daily fantasy and stuff like that, but. It's just like the same thing over and over. At least that keeps it exciting. That's a really cool concept. So cool. Yeah, definitely send us that and we'll push it out.
I love bachelor gambling.
Well, good thing it's not gambling, so we don't have to worry about that. But
it's predicting, John.
Yeah,
it's
you can answer how many times that girl's going to kiss, or how many different guys are going to get kissed by the Bachelorette coming up tomorrow night. We'll make sure you get to that contest.
John, I'm sure you're down. All right, well, let's dive into it, guys. Of course, DeAndre Hopkins We're going to start with you, John. And Tony, since you're our guest tonight, normally we would tell everybody to shut up, but we're going to be asking your opinion on these things too, because you are our guest tonight. So
No worries.
if you want to give your opinion. So, DeAndre Hopkins signed a 2-year, $26 million deal. We were talking about this in pre-production. $12 million of it's guaranteed. How do you feel, John? I'm sure as the resident Negatron of the Titans commentators, you are so excited.
Look, you know what? I don't like beating a dead horse, but I'll do it again. Why pay AJ Brown when you can just sign DeAndre Hopkins, who's 10 years older? I mean, that sounds like a win-win to me.
That's the experience, That's what they paid for.
Right.
They didn't need AJ Brown, right?
Of course not.
Yeah. He's not. He's not worth
that
it.
wasn't
DeAndre Hopkins. Now he's proven himself.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's what was their excuse with AJ Brown when they first traded him? All the Titans fans. Oh, he's always injured, as a healthy 10-year older DeAndre Hopkins, That's sarcasm.
I don't know. It's just it's hard not to be jaded if you're a Titans fan. Deja vu all over again. I mean, Julio Jones didn't work out. Robert Woods he's no Julio Jones or DeAndre Hopkins, but he is a very competent route runner, and he was just nothing. So it's hard to have any kind of optimism about it. It is what it is. I mean, this team is going to take a step down offensively. You would think, because that offensive line is still so terrible. It's great. DeAndre Hopkins, he's got now. Chubby Bear, I can't even remember your first name.
VT.
There we go. Now, can you remind me? Was Tim Kelly ever with DeAndre Hopkins?
Yeah, with Watson. So they knew each other, but they had an actual quarterback throwing to him.
Right. My thought is that DeAndre Hopkins would probably be most efficient in the slot, but I think Chigakonkwo was probably going to take that role. So I don't really know what we're going to do with DeAndre Hopkins when Tannehill has less than 2 seconds to throw the ball. So it's not that exciting because the offensive line is still terrible. So it's great. It's a good weapon. It's going to sell some jerseys, but I just don't know. It's deja vu. It's hard to feel any kind of excitement over it.
Is it going to sell some jerseys? Because,
I don't know.
I mean, I know that people are excited about him.
Buying jerseys, so
I know people are excited for him, because it's something that needed to be filled. But
it's a big name. He's the top wide receiver, right? But we haven't seen a whole he hasn't been top of mind since he went to Arizona in our perspective from the AFC South. So he had a shortened season last year, but he was pretty good when he was there. But a lot of people had problems with the Arizona quarterback. Now, Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray wasn't the best decision maker. So Tannehill's a far better decision maker, but he has less of a skill set. But I don't know.
Yeah, he was CBS Sports' handoff quarterback of the week. You don't remember? Yeah. That was a real thing. You don't remember that? He had the best handoff.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't say on top of my CBS Sports handoff player of the week, Sam.
Oh, man, that was my favorite. I was like, oh, yeah, okay, that's a compliment, right? Oh, handoff quarterback of the week. Okay, they have Derrick Henry. Just stop. Anyways, Tony, how do you feel about this signing?
You look at the Titans, like it was mentioned. Can he get downfield? I don't think he's going to be a guy that you're going to need to really go deep down the field that often because you're not going to be able to. You sign him, you see what happens. $12 million. It looks pretty big on the surface, but it's basically a prove it to me contract. Would have been cool for the Colts to maybe take a stab at him. I wouldn't have minded that just because you've got Anthony Richardson. You don't really have too many veteran wide receivers in that group that the Colts have, but it's not it's not going to win the Titans the division, I don't think. But at the end of the day, if he's a second or third option and he stays healthy and you get something out of him and you get a pretty decent second year, then I think we're going to look back at this in 2 years and say, yeah, it was a decent signing. It did what it needed to do, but to say he's going to be a Pro Bowler and put up huge numbers, obviously, I think is a stretch.
Yeah, I do like the contract though. It's not huge. Like it doesn't really burn the hole in the pocket. This is why I loved the incentives in it. Most of it is based off of incentives, so it's like great. Because I don't think he's going to get a lot of them. So it's like okay, that's good. We'll save some money on it.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's what I love about incentive-based contracts, though. Like for players on my team, unless it was Andrew Norwell, because that was ridiculous. I won't even get into that, but it makes them work for it, right? That's the way the contract should be. So I don't know. He might show out and prove that he's worth more money than that $12 million guaranteed.
That's a win-win, right? If he
exactly.
Shows out, that's positive effects on us then. So yeah.
I mean, I feel like you're going to have to, after the last 2 years that Derrick Henry's had, I feel like he's got like one good year left in him, but I feel like without like completely handicapping the man by the end of the season, you're going to have to rely on some receivers a little bit.
Well, I was saying, I've been saying 2 years ago that Henry is going to be taking a step back. And, last year he took a step back for Derrick Henry, but it was still, top 3 back in the league. So
yeah,
it's like, they're going to give him a lot of workload and he's going to get the numbers, but is he going to be like Derrick Henry? He's going to be like the 2,000 rushing yarder? No, but he's still going to be a solid back for us, presumably if he stays healthy. Obviously, he had the health issues 2 years ago, but if he stays healthy, it's still going to be solid enough. It's again that idea with the Titans' offense is let Henry open things up, but if the offensive line collapses, once again, I have said over and over again, the offensive line collapse, it just makes everything else just fall down. And that was our big problem with last season. That offensive line could not protect with anything.
Well, is there anything else from the Titans you would like to add, John Hall?
That's the main story. Main takeaway. Like Titans fans, to you guys are going to be, yes, this is great, this is awesome, but internally everybody is looking at it, through skepticism because we've been here before. We've been down this road. We've signed these guys who have proven themselves on other teams, and we're hoping to milk them out for the last little bit, and it hasn't worked so far. So it's hard to feel optimistic about it.
Oh, I don't expect any less than negative from you, John Hall. Don't worry. We'll see, though. It's a good thing. I've missed it.
I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I know.
It's a good thing I've missed it. We've had Homer Max Brady on here, for a while. I'm so glad he's not on the show tonight. Shout out Max Brady, but he'd be like, "No, DeAndre Hopkins taking us all the way. We're winning the AFC South," and I'd be like, "Mute."
Yeah. Well,
mute.
Exactly. What is Max Brady talking about DeAndre Hopkins when he was Houston? He probably said he was overrated. He was awful. He's not that great. But now when he's on the Titans, great. But no,
that's the name of the game. It's the name of the game.
Get out of here with that game. That's not my game.
All right. Well, moving on to the Jaguars. Cody Blankenship, Evan Ingram. I was sweating. Okay, John Shipley came out with an article yesterday saying that it was kind of up in the air. And I was literally on Twitter like, refresh, check the time, refresh. And then he announced today finally that he signed it. So 3 years, 42. That's a pretty heavy contract. That's a heavy contract. So
it's like 6th highest paid tight end in the league so far. He's the 5th highest paid Jaguar. So Christian Kirk is still sitting at number 1. That pretty penny.
Yeah.
But, we're getting our money's worth out of that. So I think we're going to get our money's worth out of Ingram for sure. It's better than putting Brenton Strange out there. I can tell you that. So I'm excited for sure. Yeah. I was cleaning my garage. And then I came in and checked Twitter real quick or whatever and saw that Adam Schefter, of course, broke the news like always. I wonder how he does that.
I don't know. But it's kind of, okay, I will say this. It's kind of annoying because during the draft, I'm like on Twitter and then he'll break who gets drafted before television does. And I'm like, dude, whoever his plug is, it's probably Roger Goodell. Like straight up. Yeah. It probably is. It's so annoying. I literally hate it. I'm like, God damn it, Adam. You at least put spoiler alert on it or something, but no. Yeah. Yeah. Super exciting. So Tony, how do you feel about that? That's a pretty large contract.
I wanted to talk about Schefter a little bit more.
Okay, no. Keep going. Yeah. Let's talk about Schefter.
I'll tell you a funny Schefter story. The guy that I used to do radio with, they did not get along. Because the combine was here. We used to do our shows over at Lucas Oil Stadium, and different ESPN guys would come through. And there was one day where Schefter, it was almost like he wanted to go to St. Elmo Steakhouse instead of sit there and talk for 5 to 10 minutes. So, but if you guys remember, right, when Andrew Luck had all this kind of situations go down and everything was,
I remember
everything was going on. I knew somebody pretty well inside of the Colts that was kind of feeding me a lot of information. And I remember I got a call from like a producer at ESPN, and they had asked like, well, we just want to know where you got this information because Schefter doesn't know any of this and we haven't heard anything. So
what?
We don't know if it's legit. And I'm like, hey, and it was, this happened. The call happened twice, but it happened multiple times. The first one was when Andrew, it was a Sunday night, or it was a Sunday afternoon game, I believe, against the Bucs. He played pretty well. They ended up winning the game, and he's throwing up in the locker room after the game, like several hours afterwards. And I'm like, so I get a text, and I'm like, well, that sounds like a concussion, right? Like he got interviewed, did the post game stuff. Probably the adrenaline wore off, and oh crap, something's wrong with me. So I had tweeted that out, and I said, look, this is a concussion. They play on Thursday in Pittsburgh on Thanksgiving, and there's no way that Andrew's going to be able to pass concussion protocol, within a 2-day period. So Scott Tolzien's probably going to be the starter. And, with some of those things, like, look, I'm not Adam Schefter, never will be. I understand that. But, like, you plant your flag that you know what's going on, but you leave yourself a little bit of an out, like, oh, this is what I'm hearing. And that kind of blew up. Another one was when Josh.
So he got angry?
No, he didn't get angry. No, like I think Schefter was going, wait a minute. I don't want some guy at a local radio station getting information over me. I need to figure out how he's getting it. And I was
yeah,
like,
but okay, like it's, whatever.
I was like, well, can you get a better source inside the Colts? The guy was a neighbor, was the neighbor of a friend of mine. That's how we ended up.
Well, it's kind of one of those things, like. Exactly. You're in the community, whereas like they know what you're going to do with that information.
Adam would have been like, who is this neighbor?
Yeah. And
you put him on the payroll.
I always,
his entire job is based off of getting the information first though. So he's going to try to try to get all that. That's just how it's going to be for him.
Well, and I think there's I like when like the local journalist or the local writer kind of breaks some of the news, which doesn't happen very often, if ever at all. If to be honest, I can't remember anything going down with the Colts that was broken by a local news outlet. Besides Jim Irsay's like DUI when he got pulled over 4 or 5 years ago. But outside of that, so and then the other one is when I was told that Josh McDaniels was on I will never forget. I was at Butler University. I was at Hinkle Fieldhouse. Butler was like number 7 in the country. Villanova was number 1. I was at the game and I got a text like, McDaniels literally just walked off the plane. He's supposed to be in Indy tonight, and he just got off the plane. And I was like, I go, no shit. There's no way I can put that out there because that's just like, did he forget a bag? Did he have to did he get off and then get back on? He goes, no, he is off the plane. He is not coming to Indy. And that's when I'm sitting at the Butler game, and then I tweeted that out, and my phone started blowing up. So I've actually never met Schefter, which I'm okay with. But yeah, he does a really good job. Look, he is one of the best. It doesn't mean I have to like the guy, though.
Yeah, so he's like
entitled to the priority of it. It's just he's going to chase priority insider information because that's
it's still
known,
annoying.
And that's how he gets paid. But he's not entitled to it, and nobody really is. It's just, hey, if you get this information, you want to say something, you can say it. It's your thing, you can say whatever you want.
And then, when Andrew Luck hurt his shoulder and was going to Amsterdam for rehab, my freaking Uber driver told me that. He said that he had one of the offensive linemen in his car driving him to the airport, and he told him that. And then I was like, well, that's crazy. And it ended up being true. So, look, I've always said this. You just never know who or what's going to be a source. You got to kind of know what to believe and what not to believe. Sometimes you back yourself into something that can be pretty big. But working in radio and all that stuff, you guys see it too. People, there's so many dupe accounts. I call them dupe accounts. That they're like, well, just send something out that's not true just to see if somebody catches on. And with Twitter, I think I think they do it too sometimes to like see who the snitch is or the source is, because I know like there was some Jaguars rumors, and for a while. This is like post Urban Meyer. So of course, we weren't in the best of press, situations. And
there was some news coming out, and it was all over the place. But like these like people that like are pretty accurate, and they have people like within the camp, giving them information. We're kind of like all reporting different things. So you're like,
Yeah.
I know what they're doing. They're trying to eliminate the source.
And that's happened several times here, especially with everything that went down with Andrew Luck, whether it was from the injuries to going overseas to why is he retiring? Just the absolute craziest saga that I think before sooner rather than later needs to be a 30 for 30 on ESPN, the Andrew Luck career. But they do. They will send some stuff out, and I know Jim Irsay has some burner accounts, so you got to watch out for those too.
Just that entire day where Andrew Luck, like, the story breaks and it's like that preseason game, like that would be a fascinating tale to document chronologically.
I felt really bad. I felt bad for him.
Yeah.
But then I laughed at all the Colts fans, with all due respect.
I will never
say about it. Pain, and I'm sympathetic towards Andrew Luck. You can be both.
I'll never say a bad word about Andrew Luck. I mean, that offensive line got him absolutely killed. Ryan Grigson couldn't put an offensive line together if you brought, every person in the world in front of him and try to say, hey, pick out the best 7 or 8. But yeah, that was a crazy day. And, it was preseason. They were playing the Bears. We were all still at the stadium. And then everybody, it was a fourth quarter preseason game against the Bears that didn't mean anything. And everybody, I would love to see a camera of the entire stadium when that broke and everybody's looking down at their phone like, oh shit, is this real? I just got a notification from ESPN. Andrew's entire family was in town. They had a celebration set up that night at St. Elmo's Steakhouse to kind of celebrate him being back and possibly playing again. And I think there's a lot of deeper rooted issues that led to his retirement. That are probably a little bit more, people are going to look at him as rumors, but, when he kept saying, I didn't want to rehab and come back and do that cycle of working out, rehab, getting back. I think you can read between the lines on that, but man, what a crazy career Andrew had. And now you look at it still, they haven't been able to get the quarterback position right, as you guys know, from Phillip Rivers to Carson Wentz. Jacoby Brissett, obviously, they haven't been able to situation right, and it's kind of led to having that 4th overall pick, Anthony Richardson.
Ever since Peyton Manning's 2011 season, the quarterback position for the Colts has been very unique, and it's been interesting to see.
Yeah,
it's almost like you're paying for that tenure that Peyton Manning had, right? Like this is the football god saying, well, now you're going to have to pay for having Peyton Manning. And everybody thought, oh, now you get Andrew Luck and you'll be able to draft him, and this is going to be the future. And it was for a while. You think about that, he should still be the starting quarterback if all that didn't happen or go wrong. But man, yeah, it's almost like, oh, well, now we're going to have to, what goes around comes around. We had all those years of Peyton, and then he leaves, goes and wins Super Bowl in Denver. Andrew comes in, and now it's just been I guess you can call it a quarterback carousel over the last.
What's it been like recovering the retirement home carousel of the oldest QBs in the NFL?
Man, I know.
I blame the Colts for ruining Matt Ryan. It wasn't Matt Ryan. It was the Colts that ruined him.
I don't know, man. I saw Matt Ryan step into a ball about 30 yards downfield, and he threw it about 15 yards short.
Yeah.
Was he running for his life because that offensive line was terrible? Yes.
And then after the game, he goes and sits down with the reporters and has a beer.
Yeah,
I knew he didn't care right then. I was like, yeah.
The Phillip Rivers situation. It's almost like at one, you see the guy coming out on
Rivers
screen.
Was good though. Rivers was good. You got a good last year out of Rivers.
Yeah, he's. Speaking of that, we could segue into that.
It was a Phillip Rivers year. That was a quintessential Phillip Rivers season. That's how he is. That's how he's always been.
Yeah. Well, and he's still doing things that he's always done, going on his 10th kid.
Yes, 10 children.
He's still
taking
shots.
Phillip Rivers is literally creating his own football team. He's like, I don't need anyone's football team. I'm making my own football team. Ridiculous. Listen, 10 kids? God. Why?
I'm in the land of people who have 10 kids. I'm in Utah. Everybody has 10 kids. So you guys are going to have to explain to me how weird it looks to see somebody who has 10 kids.
Can you imagine the animally if they get divorced? What? Like that is insane. Obviously he doesn't like to pull out. We all know this, but I mean, at some point, don't you want to say, "Hey, sweetheart, you know what? I'm going to get a vasectomy after number 6, 7, 8, 9." You know, no. I mean, the fact that they're both willing to do it and obviously have kid after kid after kid. Where do you think they'll stop? 14, 15? Because they're
maybe
not done.
double digits. I don't know. His number was 17, so maybe he's trying to get his
17.
Maybe he's trying to get his number in there. But
No,
when
why?
Phillip was here, when Carson Wentz was here,
He's
Matt
trying-
Ryan,
he's
they did
trying to
so
build
many
an
great
offense
things
and
for the
defense.
community. They did so many great things for the community, so I can't really rip them too bad for their performances on the field.
Matt Ryan's one of the greatest.
You're ripping him I thought we were ripping him for his performance off the field. We don't need this many kids in the world. Tony, it's time to put an end to it.
You can have plenty for me because I'm an uncle to 7, and that's about all I need.
Yeah, that's too many kids as well. No, thank you. But how do you feel? So we were talking about the Evan Ingram signing. How do you feel? That's such a large. Listen, I know I'm a non-biased host, but I'm a Jags fan. Okay, so that's a pretty large deal there. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the tight end position is a lot more important than maybe what others think. And I think we'll look back on this contract and there'll be more and more. And I mean, it's the Travis Kelce effect, right? You've got to pay that guy as almost your number 1 or number 2 wide receiver. I get it. We'll probably look back in 2 years and say, yeah, that wasn't that horrible of a contract because obviously the money for these guys are going to continue to go up. I do think the tight end position is very important. I think Trevor Lawrence obviously is a guy that has relied on tight ends, even going back to his Clemson days. So I don't really hate that. I think it's a good deal. Ingram is a good player. I don't think he's a great player, but he's a good player. And you pay your own and you try to build something around the people that you've brought in. So I don't think it's an awful contract to say the least. But I think we'll look back and say, yeah, that probably wasn't as expensive as we thought it was on the surface.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think it's that bad because, listen, it's $8 million a year essentially of guaranteed money. The rest is all incentives. So if the Jags do something, get into the playoffs and go further, I mean, obviously that whole contract is if you make the Super Bowl and whatever. So in all reality, that's not that bad. You're thinking about $8 million a year. So, I mean, how crazy is that? Not that at all.
Oh, thanks, VT.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Well, before we wrap up Jags segment, is there anything you want to add or ask Tony?
I know you wanted Anthony Richardson if you couldn't get Stroud. Now that both are in the AFC South, how do you think they would compare to the division champion Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars?
The champion.
As a Colts
Lawrence.
fan, I'm just getting sick of the Colts going down late season in Jacksonville and just absolutely getting their asses blown off. I mean, you think about
how many years is it now? It's 11.
I don't even.
11 years.
Tracked. I mean,
11.
I used to look at the Colts schedule and say, "Oh, that's definitely a win right there." Going to Jacksonville, they'll be up 21-0 at the end of the first quarter, and now they can't go down there and win to save their lives. I mean, Colts fans love it when that game, though, is in like November or December. They're like, oh, we can go down to Florida, go to Jacksonville, get some sun, get away from this pasty snow that we've got here in Indy. Then they go down there and they get their absolute doors blown off.
That's one of the least visitor attended games that we have.
Oh, yeah.
Like the tickets are the cheapest because the Colts fans do not travel here.
Yeah, well, some do. I definitely know that some do. But
there are some, but
usually
not very many.
At the end of the season, they know they're going to lose, and they know they're out of the playoffs.
Huh? What was that, John? Oh yeah, John went with me because he's a Matt Ryan fan, so he went with me to the last Colts game. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Tony,
I mean, it's. Let's just hope that it doesn't happen. I do think the Jags will win the division this year. I do like Trevor Lawrence. I like that team a lot, which is obviously hard for me to say because as a Colts fan, you kind of always looked at the Jaguars, especially in the Peyton Manning era, as like the little brother of the league. But that's not the case anymore, and the Colts have strides to make. But I think C.J. Stroud will be good as well. I'm excited for Anthony Richardson. I think he's a durable quarterback that can make the throws. Keeping him upright, keeping him healthy, as we've learned the Colts cradle of quarterbacks over the last 5 to 7 years, or even going all the way back, obviously, to the Andrew Luck era, is key. But we'll see. I heard this term the other day, and it really stuck with me. Like, weird things happen on Sundays. Like, you can literally sit there and say, this is going to happen. This definitely is going to happen. And then it's the exact opposite. So That's going to be my mantra all year this year in the NFL is just weird things happen on Sundays.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Well, we'll move on to the Texans, VT. Good old Texans. You guys don't have too much news, right?
We have a few different things. I mean, the biggest thing, well, it's not even that big, I guess, but we were looking at rankings, and ranking-wise, our secondary is getting a lot of love between Jimmy Ward and Jalen Petrie and Stingley out there, and for now, Steven Nelson. So NFL just recently ranked us the second best after Seattle for a secondary, which would tie into the DeAndre Hopkins news because some people are worried about, or Texans fans are worried about DeAndre Hopkins, and I'm actually not that worried. I mean, the guy didn't have that much of a market where he's only making $12 million a year guaranteed, and we have honestly the best secondary in the division. So I'm not that worried about DeAndre Hopkins, and I'm going to throw that news of being rated the second best safety room in the league in there. So yeah, I do think that's important.
Well, that's it? Do you have a question for Tony?
So my question for the Colts is, it's obviously about the Colts is, all right, so you got Shane over there now, and you saw what he was able to do with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts didn't have the greatest time passing his first 2 years. Now, AR has a lot of mechanics issues and stuff like that. What do you think that Shane is going to do in order to get AR up to speed? And do you think that AR will get up to speed this year, or do you think it will take longer?
Yeah, I think my approach this year is simply it's going to be a roller coaster. You're going to have times where Anthony Richardson looks really good and shows the potential of why he's a number 4 pick. And then you're going to have some times, and hell, it could be in the same game. It could be in the same quarter. You're going to have times where you see why he's a rookie quarterback, and maybe he forces the issue too much, or he tries to throw a bullet to a wide receiver 3 or 4 yards down, and maybe he should just float it down. So I think what you first need to do with him is really worry. You don't really have a lot of deep threats. I mean, Michael Pittman Jr., I guess you could say is a deep threat, but I still wouldn't even call him that. I think you really need to work on some of the short-term passing early in the game. Find the dump offs, find the tight ends, find those 7 to 10 yard passes, keep moving the chains. You don't really need Anthony Richardson going downfield that often. Just almost dumb it down. Keep it simple. Worried about those 5 to 10 yard passes, quick hitters. 1-2 in your brain, get that ball out and keep them upright as much as possible. So, you got to have that quarterback clock, right? And once that clock gets to 3, you either got to throw that ball, get rid of it, or take off the run. I don't know if we'll see as many design quarterback runs as maybe Jalen had gotten. But I think just focusing on gaining that confidence early as far as the short term, the short passing game is something I expect to see here over the first couple of weeks.
Okay.
This was a funny comment that just came in. They're all arguing in the chat, and they're talking about the Oilers throwback jerseys, I guess, in Nashville or something. So this guy said America's is Texas and its 49 little sisters. That's the first time I've ever heard that, but that's pretty funny. That's Juan Maldonado. Did I say it right? Juan Maldonado. That's pretty funny.
Then I said, don't tell Florida man that.
Oh, are you You're one of the ones in the comments.
Yeah.
I was like, dang, we're popping. Oh no, it's Cody in here. All right, moving on. Now it's your time to shine here, Tony. Moving on to the Colts. Like I said, there's not too much from the Colts. We got the former Colts wide receiver Kane is returning, and we already mentioned Phillip Rivers. We've had that under Colts news, but making his own football team. And then the Ring of Honor member. So that one you'll have to explain to me because I haven't heard of that. But just kind of tell us what's going on with the Colts and any news that you've heard. Give us the good tea, like the plain one, like that stuff. Yeah.
We'll start with the Ring of Honor. I think the Colts kind of came out with their promotional schedule of what to expect coming up this year at games. We probably won't know till about two weeks prior to that game who that is. It could be Pat McAfee. It could be Adam Vinatieri would be cool. I think he deserves to be in there. Some people have rumored that it could be Andrew Luck. I think that's maybe still too fresh of a wound, I think, to do that. Dallas Clark is also somebody that has been rumored, as well as Bob Sanders. I wanted to mention this, working in radio as I did, you heard there wasn't a comment that you didn't hear, whether it was from a player, a coach, or whatever. And my biggest problem with the Colts has always been the expectations of Jim Irsay's quote of, we're going to hoist the Lombardi this year. And we knew that wasn't going to happen with Matt Rivers. We knew it, or Matt Ryan. We knew it wasn't going to happen with Philip
Rivers.
Yeah, Matt Rivers.
That's
and we
pretty good one,
we sure as hell knew it wasn't going to happen with the other quarterbacks that they put out there. I really liked what he had to say about Anthony Richardson. Like, hey, we're kind of scaling back the expectations here. We're going to wait and see approach. We're not going to, look, are the Colts the only team in the league that has a banner up for being like the AFC South or the AFC runners up? I mean, that's kind of like where that expectation is for them. Like, do we really need to do that? It's kind of embarrassing every time you walk into Lucas Oil Stadium and it says AFC finalists. Like, okay, the only people that should ever hang up a banner for a Final Four is college basketball teams. So I like the way that Jim Irsay's kind of approached this as far as, look, we're excited. We cannot wait to see what he can do, but we also know it's going to be a rookie season. It could be a roller coaster ride, could be up and down. So, look, they're not going to win the division, as we know, unless some miracle happens or Gardner Minshew, your boy Sam, just goes off or something. But I do like the way that Jim has kind of came out and said, hey, we're going to manage the expectations here. We're going to wait and see approach. He's got a lot of work to do in this training camp to earn that spot. Again, as I mentioned earlier in the show, I think Anthony Richardson should start from day one. The only way you're going to continue to learn in the NFL and get better is to be out there playing in valuable minutes, valuable time. I think that's starting football games. So we will see what happens. As far as Deion Kane goes, I mean, this guy was like a training camp Pro Bowler. Everybody was all over him when he was here, and it just simply never panned out for Deion Kane. I mean, there were local journalists, there were local radio guys talking about how great this guy is going to be, and we never, ever saw it. So hopefully for him, it works out for him. But I mean, I honestly didn't even know anything about him today until you guys said something. So best of luck to Deion Kane. I hope he can show how great he was in training camp, and maybe that'll translate over to him being on the football field more.
I do want to read this comment real quick because it's from one of our commentators from the Texans Fan Battle show, Crenshaw. He said, I wanted to chime in and say Coleridge Bernard Stroud the fourth is the best quarterback in the division. So I feel like this is something that we're going to be hearing on and off throughout the season, since it's like the battle for right. But it's going to be the battle. Listen, I see your Gators polo. You watched Anthony Richardson play at Florida. Do you really have the hope for him with the Colts after watching him play for Florida? Because I'm just saying.
Well, I'm sure so glad I didn't draft Will Levis. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. He was meant for the Titans with the Mayo thing. Okay, like that was a match made in heaven.
And the Colts are really high on him. I don't know what happened, but my expectations, I think, are bottled up this year. I think there's going to be good, like I said, good showings, and there's going to be that, he's still learning. There's still so much. I mean, he's, as I think somebody mentioned, he's got some mechanical issues. You can't just be a gunslinger in this league and just try to fire bullets to wide receivers. You're going to have to learn the game. The game's, I hate this term, so I hate to even use it, but you got to let the game come to you a little bit. Be more patient. Do I think that he is going to lead this team right away? Probably not. I mean, lead them to wins, not early on. But I do think this is a guy that can be a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback in 3 to 4 years. Is that going to happen this year or next year? No. But I guess I shouldn't even say Pro Bowl, because all it is just a glorified game. And he could be the 9th best quarterback in the AFC, and three quarterbacks make it, and then 2 guys get hurt, and he ends up getting there. So that's not really probably the best term to do. But I think he'll continue to get better, and I do think under Shane Steichen, under this Colts banner, I do have some pretty big expectations, but those expectations aren't right now.
Right. Yeah. I'm just saying, like I said, as a Gator fan.
You seem a little hesitant.
Yeah. I just, I mean, it's hard to as a Jaguars fan, but the non-biased host, I'm just so used to sucking so terribly that I try to be careful with my words, because, we're on the good side of history now. Right, Cody?
Yes, for sure.
So I have to
see
be
the
careful.
Super Bowl in our future.
I will. I always think it's funny when I see,
Did you say
the
the
Colts.
same thing after 2017?
No, I did not, because we
No,
signed
yeah,
Blake Bortles to 3 years, 36
re-signed
million.
him.
But you know what? If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have Trevor Lawrence, and the Colts wouldn't have Gardner Minshew. And God, do I miss Gardner Minshew? God. Anyway,
It was just a
so
fun time. It was just a fun time and a sad time in our history. Like the ending of Saxonville, and then Gardner comes in when like the whole city is
Which was
depressed, and then he comes
Yeah,
up
he
with
was
like
quite
Minshew
fun.
magic. Yeah, dude, he was like
Yeah, he was
really
quite
fun to
fun.
watch. Yeah.
like honestly, if it wasn't for him, we probably Jaguars
Jean
fans would have
shorts,
cried ourselves to sleep
bullets.
every
yeah.
night. Yeah, at least he made it like
He was
entertaining to
he was
suck.
North Florida through and through.
So
sure.
yeah, 100%. But is there any other news out of Indianapolis? Anything you can give us? Any tea?
You know, I think that
Yeah.
everybody is excited in the city for Anthony Richardson to see what they can do. And look, this is a Colts town. I mean, everybody thinks about the state of Indiana. It's basketball. Everybody, and we do love our basketball, but this is a Colts city through and through. And there is nothing more depressing than being in like November and December, and it gets really cold. I know you guys don't know what that's like being where you guys are, maybe in Utah a little bit. But where it's 2 degrees and you got to make a decision on a Sunday if you're going to go to the game or not. And yes, we do have an indoor stadium, obviously, but still getting there, it's depressing as hell outside. And there's nothing more depressing than I'll never forget walking out of that Raiders game a few years ago where they had 2 chances to win a game at the end of the year. They lost to Jacksonville and they lost to the Raiders, and you're just going, man, and then the Pacers suck. So what are we going to turn to now? Because this is a city where if the Colts are doing bad, we love jumping over to that Pacer bandwagon. Or if the Pacers are doing bad and the Colts are doing really good, it's all about one or the other. So
Reggie Miller hasn't been there for a while.
yeah, I mean, yeah, but we've got some good young. It's an exciting time in Indy because we have some really good young talent. So maybe we're just living on that dream of potential. But you know what? Let us do it.
It's the best place to be. It feels so good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's not like that in Jacksonville for sure. Like if the Jaguars aren't doing good, we got the jumbo shrimp.
We have the Atlanta
Right.
Braves.
Oh yeah.
That's about it.
Well, they're good this year at least.
So you mentioned a little bit at the beginning of the show that you believe Minshew may start 1 to 2 games, possibly. And then, is there any concern, like any going into training camp? What do we start training camp next week? Right?
Yeah, I want to say the 27th off the top of my head.
Yeah, so about a week and a half we start training camp. Is there any concerns going into training camp with the Colts or?
Look, I want Anthony Richardson to start from day one. I think he should. That's not saying that he's going to be the week 4 or 5 starter if things don't go bad. I mean, look, the Colts have started off the season 0-2 for the last 4 to 5 seasons. So like we just want to get a win in that first one. We just want to get that, know what it's like to win a football game in September because the Colts have kind of lost that love and feeling in the month of September. But
and you play the Jags.
Yeah, so I mean, there you go. But I want Anthony Richardson to start. I think some of the Colts brass and the people that make those decisions are probably going to favor Gardner Minshew. And unless AR comes out firing and just looks incredible in training camp and in exhibition games, it'll more than likely probably be Gardner Minshew in those first 2 starts. But we'll see. And then there's big expectations on, will Shaq Leonard be the guy that he was a few years ago? I mean, he's been he kind of talks big game. I'm not the biggest fan of him. I think he's slightly overrated, to be honest. I think a lot of Colts fans are gonna diss me for that, and that's totally fine. I hope he comes back and he's a world beater and he gets back to what that 1 or 2 years that he had. But there's a lot of expectations on him coming back. Mine aren't probably as high as everybody else's is. It's kind of a wait and see approach to me on Darius Leonard, but him coming back, can that offensive line, can Quentin Nelson kind of return to the form that he was at a few years ago? But yeah, I just obviously AR is the biggest question that we have. Will he start week 1? And then I think Shaq Leonard as well is somebody that is going to be looked at a lot during this preseason, during training camp to see, is he back from this injury? I think a lot of people thought he probably could have played last year, but since those games really didn't mean much, maybe they sat him and didn't want to further that injury. But it's time to come back. He's kind of talked the talk. Now can he walk the walk in his comeback here?
Well, Tony, we thank you for coming on. You've been great to have on here, and kind of, I know this isn't, sometimes when people come on here, it's like they don't expect, because I mean, you see the comments that are rolling in. This is just how it goes.
Love it.
we love to hate each other and hate to love each other, because at the end of the day, we hate each other for the right reasons, which is our football teams. Who cares about everything else, right? So we thank you for coming on. Tell us tell us about the app again that you were talking about, because for those we had a lot log in kind of mid show. So for those that didn't hear about that, and where to find you, like on social media and stuff like that.
Yeah, and appreciate it. Hope to come on again with you guys soon here. Hopefully we're not talking about like an 0-5 Colts team and you guys invite me on. But yeah, so we're a local sports prediction app out of Indianapolis. We're starting to grow. We're in the St. Louis, Chicago market as well. But anybody can play it from anywhere. We have daily predictive contests for all sorts of sports. The NFL season on Sundays will be huge. We'll have contests for the 1 o'clock games, the 4 o'clock Sunday night games. All weekend long, college football as well. It's free to play for everybody. We never ask for a dime from you, so it's an alternative to gambling. Not really sure all the states that sports gambling is legalized, and it is here in Indiana, obviously. And you log in, you play, you win you win points, you can win cash prizes. We do some cool giveaways. It's called the Fans Place. You can check it out, the Play Store or iTunes, I think is what it is. Is that what they call it? The
App Store.
The App Store. There you go.
Yep.
And it's a lot of fun. So
we can tell who has an Android in this chat, huh?
I actually have an iPhone, which is crazy, but yeah.
Come on, Tony.
Yeah, I know. Brain farting over here, but it's super cool. Hope you guys check it out, and maybe we'll throw some incentives out there for some of your watchers and listeners to hop in, play along, and maybe we'll get some stuff out exclusive to your guys.
Yeah, we should get, obviously you see them battling. We should get a AFC South a fan battle.
And then we can get you guys talking to each other about who outscored who and who gained the most points.
Oh man, that would be fun. So. That'd be a lot of fun.
But yeah,
where do we find you, like your socials? Twitter and all that?
At Tony D Indy is my Twitter. I think it's TDIndy24 on Instagram. People don't really go there for information, but mostly Twitter, at @the_fans_place as well. And look forward to following you guys all year. And you guys can pile it on at the Colts that get off to another 0-2 start.
Heck yeah. VT, where do we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Brown Chubby Bear. I'm also on Threads now. The Texans fan battle is live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central. And find me on Spaces. Me and Leo have been doing a lot of Spaces. We're actually recording them. So we actually are producing them and editing them down to podcasts on the same Texans fan battle podcast channel. So go ahead and if you want to talk Texans, find me on Twitter.
Cody.
At Cody Cole Gaming, and then at Jags Fan Battle on Twitter mainly. And we're live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. And this coming Tuesday, we have Mike freaking Dempsey, the voice of the Jaguars, on the radio. So that's going to be awesome. Yeah.
Yes. And John Haw. Where do we find you, Agent?
Agent Haw. You can find me on AFC South Fan Battle every time the Titans lose. So here we go.
That's it. Just when the Titans lose.
If they win, I'm never invited. The other guys want to come on. So.
And I wanted to say this because you didn't plug it, but Tony D has a podcast and it's awesome.
Oh yeah. Shout that out, Tony.
I need to update that actually, but yeah, the Tony D podcast. It's a lot of Indianapolis-based sports. A lot of my dating life, which is also like the Colts season this year, an absolute roller coaster. And some other things that are going on. So I need to talk about my Saturday night on my next podcast, where I ended up last night, crazily enough, at a Juvenile concert. And because Back That Ass Up is one of my favorite, favorite songs of the 90s. And I live pretty close to town.
It's everyone's favorite song.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that song comes on. Yeah. There's no way you're not dancing to it.
Right.
And we have Black Expo in town this weekend in Indianapolis. And all these people were going to Gamebridge Fieldhouse. And I was like, what is going on? And I was just out on my normal evening bike ride that I like to do. And this guy was like, oh, Juvenile's playing a free concert. I was like, well, how the hell do you got to like go on and RSV? He's like, no, come on in. And next thing you know, he played a bunch of songs I didn't know, but there was two that I knew.
Man, that would be great. That would be a great article. White man pulls up to Juvenile concert on bicycle.
Hey, I like to think that I have a little bit of swag, so I don't think I was sticking out too much.
Did you like skirt in like on your bike, like skirt?
Well, no, but the thing
Peel out?
it was a white party, which was kind of ironic. Everybody was wearing white, and I was not. So that's probably why they were looking at me. Not because of the color of my skin. I think they were looking at me because I wasn't wearing like a white outfit.
It wasn't the bicycle.
Party. I was like,
it wasn't the bicycle at all.
Oh no. At least my shorts went to my knees. Like I wasn't wearing like biking gear. Like I'm not that hardcore. I wasn't in like spandex or anything walking in there with some swass. So it was all good.
So you're still having car trouble? You're still having car trouble?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, look,
it's been like a month. What's going on?
Oh
obviously
no,
Cody's a fan.
Oh man, I
was listening to the podcast. Like,
car is all good. We're all good now, which is always a good thing. But I do like a nice little bike ride around the city. That's the best part about living downtown is we've got the trails to do it and check it out, and you just never know what you're gonna run into. As I learned last night,
it might be a juvenile concert. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, yeah, make sure you check out his podcast too, guys. And of course, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Sammy Football with an I. I'll be on Tuesday on Jaguars Fan Battle with Mike Dempsey. Super excited. And of course, AFC South Fan Battle is here every Sunday at 9:30, Monday at 9:30 during the regular season. And make sure you follow us on Twitter, AFC SFB and Fan Battle Sports. We're looking for writers. So writers, hit us up, contact@fanbattlesports.com. Thank you, Tony, once again, so much for coming on. We appreciate it. Hope to have you on again soon.
I appreciate you guys having me, and we'll do it again here throughout the season.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
And Sam loves Jalen Ramsey.
Hey, you're all fired. All of you.